So anyway, my impression of what the Brumbaughs were like growing up as one, if I was going to describe us, what I learned was that I kind of thought we were hardworking, nose to the grindstone kind of thing, self-sufficient, kind, I think. We could help out somebody if they needed help. Didn't have money to do that, but we had the ability to work and do that. And so anyway, all of us grow up, and one by one we get married. And the one thing that was sort of missing in the raising of us kids was we didn't have a religious background. We didn't. As I look back, and I thought, the folks saw to it that Frank and I went to Sunday school. Dad would take us to Bradshaw, drop us off at church for Sunday school, and he'd go to the coffee shop and have coffee. So anyway, didn't have much training that way. So one by one, we were married, and married somebody that did have a little bit of training, or at least was raised in the church. So that was our first exposure, probably, to regular church attendance, so forth. And then it seemed like for a few years, I think we all had kids by then. As I look back, and this is so critical to the way life went for everybody, I think God did an absolute miracle in our family. One by one, we became born-again believers in the Lord Jesus Christ. Knew what it meant. I think we could have classified ourselves without any problem as being sinners. Brumbaugh wouldn't have any trouble saying, yeah, I'm far from perfect. But didn't know, just out of ignorance, didn't know that there was a penalty for sin. And that, the wages of sin is death. And it's hell, it's eternity. So I don't think that was a problem, but just learning those facts was something that we needed. And so one by one, we trusted the Lord as Savior. And my folks, at a later age, that was just, sometimes God will work in a family and it might be one or two. And you might have prayer requests for the rest of the time. Please pray for my family. They're not interested in these things. My mom and dad, Vincent and Marlis, you two, Larry and I, Frank and Phyllis. And some of my fondest memories of our family is gathered around a table after we've been together with a meal and talking spiritual things. It just blessed my heart. To think about that and enjoy that was a highlight of our family time. And it was just astounding. This is what we're talking about. It's wonderful. And I've often said, and I wouldn't wish them back, and they wouldn't want to be back, but I would like one more time around the table with Mom and Dad, Vincent, Marlis, Frank, just to have that again. But we will have that. We will have that. And then the other thing I was thinking about, and Larry, maybe you can give this straight. Historically, they say within 3 generations, if you start out with that first generation as being strong believers, by the 3rd generation, it's gone. It's not there anymore. And I would have to say us, the siblings, and my parents would have been, well, let's leave the folks out of it, us, we would have been first generation. Definitely we were. To trust the Lord. But you kids were pretty little. So, pretty little, and I don't know if you remember it apart from that, but you didn't have maybe the struggle or went through that identifying process like we did. You grew up with it, and the concern is for your children now, because they will not have had to, it just comes automatically, and it's just commonplace, and maybe that's what you don't want it to be. You want to be sure that this is carried on. So I guess the whole thing is you guys make that priority in your lives. Be sure that those kids, that's first thing in their lives, that they see it in you. Because What a blessing.
That's one of the blessings that we're experiencing because, you know, the kids, our grandchildren are being brought up in Christian homes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we praise the Lord
Absolutely.
for that.
And no small part to this guy's stand right over here.
Yeah.
Well, it started, you know, it was so,
It was when Grandma
You know,
got
in-
sick, right?
yeah, in our ignorance, really, in our, you know, in your zeal, when you're a believer, you want everybody to know this. Absolutely want everybody to know it. So we had the big idea, well, huh? Yeah, we had,
right, yeah.
so we decided, well, you know what, we'll just travel back to Bradshaw every week or so and let's have a family Bible study.
Even though we thought they'd gone off the deep
We'll
end.
humor. We'll humor them, you know.
Yeah, they'll get over it.
We were in over our heads, you know, with what little we knew. But
So-
I remember the struggles, particularly for my dad. I remember that we did a navigator study, and you had a booklet written out, and at the end of the first booklet, it asks you when you trusted Christ, and you write just a little synopsis of how that happened. And we were to share that. And I remember Dad saying, I don't get this. Now, obviously was not at that point in time a believer, and frustrated. And of course, Mom was sick. And so as the years went by, you know, we were all believers. Dad, we knew, was not yet. Mom was. But Mom said, I had to be flat on my back before I could look up. And that's how the Lord took her illness, and that's what brought her to Him. And Dad, his profession of faith was, you know, he's a tough old farmer. I can deal with everything. But he could not make Mom well. And so it was through that. God used Mom's illness in many, many ways. Yeah. So it was really through that Dad. And what a change. You know, Dad wasn't vocal about it. You know, he probably couldn't have or wouldn't have wanted to express what he believed. But you saw it in him every day. There was somebody in Bradshaw that told me once, your folks are not the same people. And that was one of the most wonderful things to hear because of that. But anyway, I said sometimes, you got to know Dad is a believer to put up with Mom sometimes. You know, because she can be pretty hard to put up with at times. And he was just as gentle and kind with her. He did, didn't he?
Yeah.
He did.